Hey, this is Todd. I wanted to talk about something that I read a while ago on a blog. I wish I could find it. I totally lost it. So I'm just going to be upfront. It's totally not my idea, but I really like it. So I thought, let me give it a little wider exposure. I think they called it the Bullseye Method. What I really liked about it is not just that it's something that we can use behind a screen in terms of thinking about monsters, but it's also something that the players can be aware of when they're thinking about monsters. And what it comes down to is if you take that monster stat block, let's say in your monster manual or whatever source book you're getting it out of, that is the generic version of the monster, and it inhabits that larger ring, right, of this bullseye. And it's the kind of thing, if you think about, let's say, a bear, and you might say to someone, I saw a bear yesterday. We all probably have some idea of what a bear looks like. Depending on where we are regionally, it might change, but if you're in North America, you probably think of a brown or black bear, probably a brown bear. Now, if we zoom in, though, that's just the most, say, the global sort of generic, okay, here's what's written in the books about bears. But then any particular region is going to have potentially a regional variant. Now we're zooming in a little bit closer on that bullseye. What might those regional variants look like? And again, in terms of bears, you might think, okay, there are grizzly bears, there are polar bears, there are, black bears versus brown bears, there's Asian brown or black bears. I'm not sure I know their kind of Asian variants. There might be pandas, and they all share enough that they're still part of the bear family in a sense, right? But now we've zoomed in. So now we know that panda bears might only exist in a certain region. In our case, it's in China, in that area. We know that polar bears only exist in certain regions, right? We're in this kind of regional field. Now we might zoom in further and say, for each one of those regional populations, now there might be local variants. And this might be, to use a different example, I remember seeing a documentary on tigers from a particular part of Asia that acted in a particular type of way with particular behaviors. They were, big cats or cats, right? Then they're tigers, but now they're the tigers from this individual area. And then we can zoom into maybe the center of the bullseye, which is now you might have unique individuals within these local populations. So there might be one tiger in this specific area of India that's particularly large, strong, deadly, or the other way, skinny, small, whatever, right there. It shares, some characteristics with its local population, some characteristics with its regional population, maybe not even that many on the global level. The idea being when a party might come across a particular creature in their brains, they can use as a starting point that global definition. Okay, it's a troll. We know certain things, generally speaking, about trolls. But that's only for the very generic, just what we've agreed upon, right? Much like a lot of things, we come up with ways to put things together, categorize them together so we can talk about them. And that's what we call a troll. They share certain characteristics. Okay, fine. But maybe there's information about these regional trolls, and maybe we've discovered certain things about this regional population of trolls that's different than that global things we've decided almost on a scholarly level to talk about. Could be as simple as hit points. Could be something more interesting like what things they have vulnerabilities to or how they regenerate or anything like that. Then the other thing to think about is that's just the regional one. Are there local legends or things about trolls? Is there anything we know about these local trolls that might differentiate them from these other ones? And then is this individual troll special in some reason? Weaker, perhaps, than its brethren? Stronger? Just different? It could just be a complete unique. This troll is just a one-off from the press, right? The mold was broken after this troll, or something else. Key thing for me is not so much that to say, hey, GMs, do this, right? We can do this already. I hope that you'd always feel like as a GM that you can take a monster and do with it what you will. The idea here is that it's transparent between players and GM. This comes up fairly often, not fairly often, but it comes up often enough that it gets remarked upon and discussed a lot. When players will run up against a monster and they'll have a certain impression of what that monster is. And putting aside the whole metagaming, that looked like a troll, smells like a troll, so the party acted like a troll, like it was a troll, but their characters shouldn't have known. I'm not really interested in that element of it. But just so much as, okay, it's a troll, then something is different. players can feel that's a little bit unfair. They can feel like, hey, we geared up to fight this troll, and now the GM has made this troll different for no reason. But if this has been established as, hey, these are truths about what you're reading, whatever your player may hear in the tavern back at town about trolls is some of the global generic information, some of the regional information, some of the local information, but there's still somewhat of a wild card in all that with these individuals. And then as a player, I feel like knowing that, it means, A, I can't take for granted the fact that a troll is just a troll is just a troll. If I were to have the fictional version of a monster manual in my pocket, I would know that this is only the bare essentials. It's not going to tell me, for example, if I'm looking at the global entry for bears, that polar bears can retract their claws, or that some other kind of bear does something else. There still might be local creatures that are a little bit different from their regional cousins, and then there's individuals. So it makes me as a player think about the troll or whatever it is differently. And it also means I'm more likely to accept without argument that this troll might be different than other trolls, because I've been essentially told up front, hey, individuals are different. Individuals are going to vary from one another. And rather than think about it in a random sense, I think as a player, and I would think as a GM, it gives me structure. Because now I look at when I'm thinking of an individual troll who I want to make different than other trolls. Now I'm thinking, if I'm going up through this bullseye, okay, if this is individual, then what are the kind of the local trolls? Is he just a one-off? Are the local trolls mirror what the regional trolls mirror what the global kind of troll, our sort of our aesthetic, our global troll aesthetic, generic aesthetic is for trolls? Is something different? And it puts me in the mindset of a GM is thinking about those populations. And I think that thinking about them in these way of populations that share things with kind of a distant family, but then have these variations as you're zooming into a particular geographical area is interesting and useful, because I will start to think about things, I think, in a way of, well, if the regional trolls are like this, what makes these local trolls different? And that will inform what the habitat is like, which will be what the surrounding area is like. Well, if these trolls are all about water instead of fire, why is that? Well, maybe this is a volcanic area. So they're used to fire and they're immune to fire, but now they're weak to water. Or maybe they, if the regional ones had determined were weak to water instead of fire, then I might think, well, why are these reversed, or why are these something else? Now I'm thinking about what the area looks like, which helps me world build around them and make them feel grounded to the world, which is great. And then if there's that one unique individual, now I want to think about not just he's different on a meta case because I want to mess with the players and throw them a curveball. I want to think about, well, why is this troll different? What's the story about this troll? And that, I think, will make the troll more interesting, and that encounter more interesting, and everything about it more interesting. And the players, hopefully, because they're aware of this, will be looking for those details. They'll be looking for, well, how are these things different? Maybe I should do some research in town because we're coming from another part of the world, and then we're talking about trolls, but I want to understand these things before I go in there just thinking, well, I'm going to bring some torches and some oil and I'm going to be all set. Well, maybe these trolls don't react the same way to that. Let me find out first. Then they can use that to inform themselves. And then if they don't, but they're still aware of this system, then if they run into trolls that don't react the way they do, I feel like as a player, I'm like, that's my fault. I go, should have done some research. I should have known that these would be different, as opposed to feeling that the GM, jammed me up. Anyhow, that's it. Like I said before, if someone remembers, or they spot it, or on the really off chance that the person who wrote that blog post that I can't remember pops up that talked about the Bullseye Method, please shoot me the link so I can add it. As usual, as always, if you like these, please subscribe, give it the thumbs up, hit the bell if you want to be notified. I appreciate it. I'm trying to march towards getting into the partner program, and about 200 and some odd subs away. So every subscription is a great help to me. Thank you very much. I also, before I forget, I also started a newsletter. I'm thinking it'll go out, monthly, maybe twice monthly. I'm not quite sure yet. I will put a link to it. It will basically just be a way to keep in touch. I'll drop links of things I found are interesting. I'll have some of my own content in there. It's just give me your email address. I don't do anything with it, but I'll periodically shoot you out some updates. And it's all going to be the same kind of stuff I talk about on the channel. So if you like this content, chances are you will like that. So something that interests you and you want it in your email box as opposed to trying to chase threads throughout different aspects of social media, go ahead and hit that link. But otherwise, I will talk to you later, and game on.